The Secrets of Stargate is brought to you by the StarQuest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit sqpn.com/give.
You're listening to The Secrets of Stargate, Episode 44.
Janet West, Jackson has identified the seventh symbol.
All right, here we go. We are about to try to make a connection.
All we gotta do is bust out of here, commandeer the ship, and fly on home.
Indeed. You say that a lot.
I know that this could be dangerous. But this is our job, right? It's what we signed on to do.
It was never about going home. It's about getting us to where we're going.
Hi, I'm Jack Baruzzini, and you're listening to The Secrets of Stargate, where we talk about the hidden meanings and deeper layers found in the Stargate movies, TV series, and more. And joining me today are Father Cory Sticha. Hi, Father.
How's it going, Jack?
And Lisa Jones. Hi, Lisa.
Hey, Jack.
And Victor Lambs. Hey, Victor.
Hi, Jack.
All right, today we are discussing the second episode of Season 2, Seth. Jacob Carter / Selmac comes to the SGC to ask SG-1 for help tracking down Seth, a system lord who's been hiding out on Earth for thousands of years. There's several beautiful websites and some amazing coincidences. They discover that Seth has started a cult that is currently holed up in Washington State. The team arrives at the site only to find that the ATF is there. After pulling out the big guns, General Hammond's direct line to the president, Jack takes command of the operation, and Sam comes up with a plan to neutralize the Nish'ta that Seth has used to enslave his members. After infiltrating and lots of running around, Sam KOs Seth with Selmac's Karakesh. We also get to see Jacob Carter mend his relationship with his son, an important part of this episode that definitely was fleshed out and mattered. Yep. It was, this episode felt like filler to me, to be honest.
This very much was. I mean, it's a good filler episode. This is probably one of the better filler episodes we've had, but it was, it's very much a standalone episode. We've got this one Gaul we've never heard of and we don't hear about ever again because he's dead. Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Lisa? What were your thoughts?
It's kind of like an after-school special from the 80s, because in the 80s, I feel like everything was about cults. Like you were so worried you were going to get sucked into a cult. And so it was, a little throwback for me, to my...
If it's not cults, it's drugs, right?
Yeah. Cults, drugs, all those kinds of things. That was the...
Hey, kids, don't play D&D because then you'll become a cult member.
It feels like that obligatory episode that every TV show did in the 90s that was just a rehash of Waco.
Yeah, way before the 90s. They were doing them in the 80s too, after Jonestown. Like the very first episode, or maybe even the second episode of the A-Team was a cult episode where the A-Team had to get people out of a cult, much like this.
Yeah.
If you think about it,
only they didn't have Zats. Yeah.
This was
they made a
Waco.
flamethrower.
Yeah.
Yeah. They made a flamethrower out of like a propane tank and stuff. It was pretty cool. So they didn't have Zat guns on the A-Team, but
they should have.
Yeah, they may do.
That would have been more fun.
I think of like the Earthbound, because there are some Earthbound SG-1 episodes where they just like run around a small town or something. And this is one of the better ones, I think. We actually have a real Gould here. We get some moments between Sam and Jacob. We get some really good moments with Teal'c and stuff. So this is one of the better, Stuck on Earth episodes.
Yeah. I did think it was funny that the actor they have playing Seth is the same actor who plays Daniel's dad, or not, Daniel's dad in the Gamekeeper episode.
So
is it really?
Yeah.
So no, here's the funny part. Yeah, it caught me because it was Robert Duncan is his name. And the guy who played Tom Paris on Voyager is Robert Duncan McNeil. That's they're going, wait, what? I don't remember him being in this. And of course, both shows were simultaneous. They're both airing at the same time.
Yeah.
And we get some really classic like Canadian character actors like Mitchell Kosterman, who plays like federal agent on like every show from X-Files to Supernatural and everything in between.
Yeah. He's got that look of like kind of the mid-level bureaucrat federal guy.
Yep.
But he stands up to the president.
Yeah,
so
that's
he's
true.
Yeah.
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 And he does have a
thought that was
snazzy
cool.
jacket.
Yeah.
Yes, he does.
I do like that they didn't make him out to be a villain or kind of get in the way, because I kind of thought that when they introduced the ATF and all that, that's kind of the direction they were going to go. But I liked that they ended up just being helpful. I'm glad there wasn't any sort of antagonism between them, because I feel like that would have just complicated the plot unnecessarily.
Yeah. Well,
I definitely think their website has probably like raised morale at the ATF.
Oh, that's HTML1 at its finest. We've all made websites like that.
Front page 98.
That's right. Front page.
Hey, this was top of the line.
And
I
had a website for my wedding in Front Page.
This was top of the line, though. Not just was it HTML1, it was HTML1 running on Netscape Navigator.
Nice.
I mean,
wow.
that was top of the line right there.
No Mozilla here.
Yeah. Yeah, this is pre-Mozilla.
Gopher. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that that background they have on those websites about Seth and the ancient Egyptians is the exact same background that the Vatican website still has.
Yes, it is.
Absolutely.
It's like that faux aged papyrus look.
Right.
Yep.
It's fun to see Selmak again. I like him and Jacob Carter coming back.
Yeah. Yeah, that was nice. I do like how he shows up and the first thing he does is high five them all over like getting rid of Hathor.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jack's like, we'll take credit for what we've done. You know, we're happy with that.
It was nice continuity there.
Yeah. I did think it was very convenient that they located Seth that quickly. It's just like, oh, here he is. But I do like that they did not have his son be in the cult, because there's that part when they first get to the ATF camp where they get there and there's the guy who's looking for his son. He's like, your son's in there, isn't he? And I thought, oh, it's going to be his son is in the cult because they're on the West Coast.
Yeah.
I'm glad they didn't do that, because that would have been too many coincidences right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought that was cool having the dad there. But before they even go looking for the cult, Selmak breaks out the little Tok'ra holographic projector. And there's this nice moment where both Sam and Daniel are oohing and eyeing over the hologram.
Yeah.
Sam because of the technology and Daniel because of what's actually shown in the hologram itself. So I thought that was a nice little like moment of character humor there.
Yeah, that was good. Speaking of character humor, when they're talking about the different animals that the gods are represented by, we get the most amazing joke ever.
Yeah, it's definitely a high watermark for the series.
Probably one of the best known jokes.
Well, none of us could do that justice, so I think we have that queued up.
Yeah, we'll just drop that in right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
yeah, and I love Teal'c's reaction too at the end, where he laughs at his own joke and then has a very satisfied smile on his face.
Well, I took though he kind of looked around and then turned around and kind of looked elsewhere, and I thought that was almost like he was embarrassed that he's the only one that laughed at it, that he showed that much personality.
I took it as he didn't
that's a dad
understand
joke
why
face.
they didn't understand it. Like,
yeah,
that's
how I took it too.
That's just I told an epic dad joke and no one's going to acknowledge how awesome it was. But I know it was awesome and I'm going to be laughing about this for the next few years.
I think that's called projection, Victor.
Yeah, maybe.
You're just projecting.
I feel the same way about my dad jokes, so I understand.
In that moment, I thought, I wonder if they realized what a gem they had in Christopher Judge.
Oh, yeah.
He's fantastic.
You know, spent the whole first season just pretty much saying indeed, right? And then you get those moments that you just so out of character, so big, and it just cracks you up. And you're like, okay, that's cool.
Yep. Yeah, it's been really nice to see him branch out in his emoting over these past 2 episodes, because we had him give that speech in the last one and then here with the jokes. I like seeing his character expand like that.
Well,
there were a lot of... Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I mean, he does develop much more as goes along. I mean, he becomes a much more human character. But yeah, it's fun to see that development, fun to see that change.
Yeah, there were other jokes here that I was hoping I wouldn't have to explain to our 9-year-old who's watching it with me. Like Jack's eunuch says in Snippety Doodah.
Oh,
I really didn't want to. I really didn't want to explain the racist origin of like Song of the South and Zippity Doodah to my son.
I'm sure that's the part you were worried about.
Yeah, that was the part. Yeah,
it wasn't the Unix part, you know. And Unix, not
like,
the operating system. These weren't system administrators.
Well, I was waiting for the question, and it never came, and I was like, "Thank you." You know,
I'm watching it with my teens. Now, granted, they're 15 and 18, and it's like I didn't know if they knew what that meant, but they did because they started laughing. And
oh yeah,
you know.
I wake up and I'm singing soprano.
That's right.
Yeah. And that was like, oh, because he learns how to sing, right? I was like, yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
But he likes to sing deeper, not higher.
Yeah, he wants to be a bass. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She's a bass. Yeah, we need to talk about their terrible plan, though. It's just built on so many contingencies.
Oh yeah.
Like what's the power supply of these hearing aids, right? If they can
exactly
deliver high enough voltage and amperage to, you know.
Right. So
I mean,
plan,
yeah.
I was gonna say, apparently, you know, like a 9-volt battery can put out enough juice to zap the mind control chemical out of them. So I guess those, you know, hearing aids are fine. I don't know.
Right. And so their entire plan is predicated on them wearing these little hearing aid devices that are also audio transceivers, but that doesn't factor into the plot at all. And then once they are infected with the mind control substance, the Nish'ta, they have to wait for it to fully infect their bodies, because if they neutralize it too quickly, it will set up a stronghold. I guess kind of like Lyme disease or whatever it is you get from cats. Form like cysts.
Toxoplasmosis.
Toxoplasmosis. And then once they do that, they will neutralize. Once it's neutralized in themselves, they will neutralize everyone else with the Zat guns. But it's just predicated on so many different. If this goes right, if this goes right, if this goes right, and then they do not realize that because Sam has had a gold in her before, Seth is going to be able to pick up on that. And like that was one of the first things I was thinking of when they started going over that plan. I'm like, isn't he going to know, because everyone else has known that they did it?
Yeah. Well, what about Jack? And of course, you know, the fact that Jack had one in him, but they don't really play off of that.
No, they don't.
You know, they don't really play off the fact that he's had one, because it never fully implanted it. You know, because that one apparently was a slow gold to get put in there.
Right.
So,
yeah.
You know, but the first time I saw this, I thought it almost looked like Jack never got affected by the chemical. That, because, you know, you watch like everybody else, both Daniel and Sam are responding with such gusto.
Yeah.
And Jack is kind of muttering the Seth is our God, you know, type responses.
His bliss.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe that's how Richard Dean Anderson communicates bliss.
Yeah.
But, I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, that whole like scene and transition, that whole thing was like, it was like, so Carter wasn't affected, or she was affected or something. And yeah, that was just not very well executed, I think.
Yeah,
although I was going to say, I think most male geeks that were watching this would want Carter to look at them like she looked at Seth, but still.
Yep. The big doe eye look. Yep.
Yeah. Find yourself someone who looks at you like Nish'ta-infected Carter looks at Seth.
There you go.
That's the meme, right?
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Put that on a mug.
In a Valentine's card for my husband, right?
Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
Just in time for Valentine's Day.
Oh, okay, Victor. You're going to make that up for a meme. We need that for the cover art for this.
Only the Nish'ta itself looks like Pepe Le Pew, or like when someone breathes like garlic fumes on someone in a cartoon. It's like this green stink cloud that like flies around. And I'm like, okay, like it couldn't have been pink or something because of bliss, or I don't know, like sparkly like glitter or something. Yeah.
Should have been rainbow colored with sparkles.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, I do appreciate Seth's throne and how he has a harem girl like dedicated just to like polishing his throne in like the most like desultory fashion possible. They don't even show her. It's just his hand, like just kind of like, I'm polishing it.
You could at least give her one of those like Swiffer like magic mops or whatever.
Yeah.
You know what? I didn't even notice her.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna have to go back and watch.
She's just off the side, and you see her kind of on the edge of the screen.
Yeah.
She'd be there doing her thing, and it's just like, meh.
Yeah.
I was so puzzled about his motorcycle jacket that was floor length with his gown thing. Like he's got the robe gown thing, and then he's got like the leather jacket over it, and then he's got the black hair with the goat. I could not figure out that look for the life of me.
He looked like a John Petrucci from the band Dream Theater. It's the first thing I thought of when I saw him.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's got the exact same hairstyle and just the beard and everything. I was like, this dude plays guitar in a metal band, doesn't he?
I will say the cult members' clothing, the floor length hoodie looked actually rather comfortable, at least.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be bad.
Like a snuggie. Yeah, like a snuggie, you know?
Yeah. You can't be blissed out if you're wearing constricting clothing. That's for sure.
Well, at least once, if Carter's going to be threatened to go in a harem, she didn't have to wear something like binding. You know, she got a nice, comfy robe. So that was good.
They just pull out her emancipation wardrobe or something. And
yeah, exactly.
This was payback for putting her in that and all the other things that come out, you know, like come up later. Just let her wear the robe now. Just get comfy.
I do like how they spring that on her, like as they're already in the compound. I'm like, you guys didn't talk about this plan at all, did you?
No.
Yeah, both her and Jack. It's like, wait a second.
What?
We didn't talk about this part of the plan.
And I like how Daniel, like they're in the compound and Daniel's like, well, the ancient ruins have stairs, so this must have stairs because every single building this person builds is going to have the exact same layout.
Yeah. And tunnels.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like professionally dug like sewer tunnels or access tunnels that his 50 followers like dug out and then built cement like access.
Yeah. He was strategic about who he picked. He picked some electricians, some plumbers, some stonemasons. Like he knew what he wanted.
Yeah. He's got the best throne polishers in the business right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the inside of the house looked a little like late 70s to me.
Yeah.
Anyone else with the, you know, dark wood stairs and the funky carpet?
I wonder what cabin or whose cabin that was that they were able to rent for the weekend to film.
Apparently it has like the quietest hardwood floors too, because Seth and like 4 of his bodyguards are able to stomp down the stairs, and Jack and Daniel like don't even turn around. They just have their back to them until they're like in the room. You know, hey, we're right behind you. And then they're like, what? Oh, I totally didn't hear you guys like walking down the wooden stairs in the 100-year-old.
They had slippers on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe. Yeah. They could have been barefoot.
With their robes, right? I don't think we ever see what, I don't know what they were wearing on their feet, but slippers would go nicely, right?
They have a little Bing Crosby pipe too.
You'd be comfortable. You'd be really comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe their hearing was affected by their hearing aids shocking them in the ears.
That's true.
Just head
Yeah. And this episode, I think there's a trap that SG-1 falls into with their Gould villains, which is if they do like a one-off like this, they only have like 42 minutes, and the buildup before you actually get to the Gould villain is so long that by the time you get to the Gould villain, they only get 1 or 2 scenes. We saw this with Hathor in the last episode. We see it with Seth too. There's like a scene with him sitting in a chair, scene with him standing up and then trying to run through the tunnels. And it's kind of like if you're going to set up a credible threat, you need to kind of have your heroes encounter him at various stages, kind of like what they do in the Sonic games with Dr. Eggman or Sephiroth in Final Fantasy VII. He needs to be like a constant annoyance or threat before you actually dispatch with him. And so we see SG-1 doing this a few more times with some of their one-off Goulds where,
Yeah, he didn't really seem like that much of a threat. And I feel like kind of once they get to, like the setup was interesting, but once they get to the actual area and they start infiltrating it, the plot just kind of falls apart and not really a lot happens. Like they get captured and then they escape and then they shoot each other with the Zat guns and then Carter kills him and then it's over. Like there's no real tension once they've been freed.
Except bombs. I love that.
Oh yeah, the Gould bombs. Yeah.
Yeah, because Jack and Daniel, Seth lays the bomb next to him as they're unconscious and they wake up, bomb, and run.
Just made me think of a C-3PO in Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
He's holding a thermal detonator.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then we get the Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I mean, it is a problem with these episodes, and then of course you get the father who, the father of Tommy was his dad, where he was just kind of trying to drive up drama, but not really, but also to make the parallel between the two of them and Carter, Jacob Carter and his son.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about Teal'c's little questioning there, right? Do parents? Was it Earth parents not love their children unconditionally?
Unconditionally, yeah.
Yeah.
And Jacob's like, nope.
Yeah.
It's like it's complicated, and Teal'c says, many things are complicated. Loving one's children is not one of them.
Yeah.
So there you go.
I really liked that scene because it was like
it was. I thought so too.
Yeah.
It's like, look, I shot Ryak with a Zat gun because I loved him.
Right.
It was, you can't even call him on Thanksgiving. Yeah. I did like Tommy's dad though. Like I couldn't tell if he had like some like ulterior motive when he's in there like pouring the coffee and he's like trying to listen in and he spills the coffee. I was like, now he's going to place a listening device on him. And no, it was really just to set up that, poignant dad moment, which is good. There wasn't really room in the plot for much more than that at this point, but.
Oh, but the spilling coffee thing was a little awkwardly weird. And it made you think he spilled it on purpose, which I don't know. Yeah.
Well, of course, you could tell it was a government installation because you got this temporary tent that's set up, but they made sure to have the bun coffee maker. You got to have your coffee maker.
That's a requirement. Yeah. Yeah. It just felt that whole subplot. I know it kind of ties into Jacob Carter with his son, but it felt like a lot of it just not really fleshed out and just kind of there. Like you don't really get you don't get like any sort of dramatic progression of these scenes. It's just like Jacob and his son have not talked. This guy and his son haven't talked. Now they're hugging each other.
Yeah.
Like, there's no real.
I was grateful for that, to be perfectly honest. Like the last thing I really needed was them bringing in another character that's not affiliated with the Stargate.
Yeah.
Just to burn time. I don't know.
Well, and I think you also
like they could have used it better.
You were seeing the transition of Jacob, right? From well, we got to see a little bit of what General Carter was like, and then but that transition from the guy that Major Carter, Captain Carter, wasn't really on good terms with, and then now that he's got Selmac, he's kind of finding his zen and making amends and all this stuff. So it was like one more stepping stone to get to the guy that we all, like to see pop up.
Yeah.
I do like how it was Selmac who was like pressuring him to reconcile with his son too. It's like, seriously, I'm living in your head. I cannot deal with this regret anymore. So it's kind of like the Holy Spirit, how the Holy Spirit will prompt you to do things like to reconcile with your son. Okay. No, really, reconcile with your son.
And
I love that.
You think you should love him so much just because it's driving me crazy.
Yeah.
Well, I love it how Selmac basically takes over in the elevator. It's like, do something about this. He's driving me up the wall. I can't handle it anymore.
I love it.
Yeah. I do like the back and forth between Selmac and Jacob. I like they seem like usually with the Gould we don't really get the human side of it, so it's nice to see that back and forth. And I feel like they've done it more with him than they have with any of the other Tok'ra.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think my favorite Jacob moment is this when they're like, yes, he goes by Seth or Satesh and stuff, and then at the end Jacob's like, did you guys get Shadish? And I was like, that wasn't even on the list. I was like, what, did you get the Bohemian folk dance that they do at weddings and stuff?
That's probably why he pulled it out.
Yeah, I did notice he gave us yet another pronunciation of gold at the beginning. It was like Gewald.
Yeah.
Was that like a running joke throughout this? I mean, all 10 seasons, because you'll notice there's constantly people mispronouncing it. You would think by like season 3, they would tell you this is how to say it, but they're always doing it.
I would say that all makes it more realistic because people are going to get different pronunciations of it in real life, and especially if it's somebody who's not familiar with them as much as like say SG-1 who's dealing with them on a daily basis, more or less. So I think it's almost more realistic because it's almost too unrealistic when you get a series where everybody pronounces the words exactly proper, especially the unfamiliar ones.
Right.
Yeah. And
oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just saying on some of the DVD commentaries when they have a guest star who massacres it, they will call it out and say Gould or Gould or however the guest star this week wanted to pronounce it.
Yeah.
And I think it's because they're not going to stop an otherwise good take and say, no, you said it wrong. Or, they're probably not going to spring for the ADR to loop it back in or something. So,
yeah. There was a good episode of the Star Trek show Lower Decks.
Oh, yes.
Mugatu, where they hang a lantern on the fact that none of the actors in the original series could pronounce it. So it's like throughout the episode, they're calling Mugatu, Gumatu, Mugatu, like all these different things. So
yeah,
it's always funny to see that.
Yeah, and the name of the episode is Magato Gamato because there are different pronunciations for different original actors, and like you said, they carried it through. So so it's like Bones couldn't say Mugato, I think it was, so he started calling him Gamato instead, or something like that. So I haven't seen that episode yet. I'm doing my first watch through of TOS. I watched all the other Star Treks, but it's my first watch through of TOS. So I'm looking forward to when we finally get to that episode because the Lower Decks one was fun.
Well, maybe that's what
and
happened.
Kirk doesn't say sabotage; he says sabotage.
I'll say maybe that's what happens when we get to 2010 with the Shen, Ashen, the Shen.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Just find the right emphasis. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is nice. How this episode is kind of like the whole riff on the government busting up a cult, but I like that they end it positively. Like it actually works. They rescue everybody because there's an episode of the X-Files that has a similar premise, and it also has this really weird past life resurrection where Fox Mulder was a Civil War soldier, and this whole weird thing that's going on. And then it ends in the most depressing way possible where everybody commits suicide in the cult. So I like that they don't. I like that they did not go that direction with this episode.
No, the most depressing thing is Carter realizing that she could kill someone with the hand device, with the ribbon device, right?
Yep.
That was a good I wouldn't say good kill, but that was actually watching him get flattened and pancaked into the ground so hard that it actually makes a crater. That was for the show. That was pretty good.
That was pretty dramatic for the show.
Yeah, and then Jack gets the best line at that point, you killed him, and then Jack goes, "Hail Dorothy."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
from the Wizard of Oz. Yeah,
Wizard of Oz. Yep.
I was hoping that the Mortal Kombat music would start playing.
Yeah,
finish him.
We do learn some more stuff about Jack. We learned that his jacket size is either extra large or 2XL. And apparently he is not big on Second Amendment rights. And that could just be because it's a Canadian show. But, he's saying, hey, those guys didn't get their 15-day waiting period. It's
well, that was, and would this have been,
yeah,
I'm trying to think.
99.
There was a point when, you could get things, but you had to do the 15-day waiting period. So.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Because they're talking about AKs, which, assuming they're not civilian replicas of AKs, are fully auto. They're talking about Uzis, same thing. So, I mean,
I guess I wasn't considering it in the time frame.
But that being said, Richard Dean Anderson isn't exactly 2A friendly either. So,
See, that one just went over me. I know nothing about guns, so.
Yeah.
You want to come to Texas?
Yeah.
I mean, I do live in Alabama.
I was going to say.
Or Detroit.
Isn't Alabama one of those states where they just issue guns? No.
Yeah.
When you get your driver's license, they just give you one. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's your starter 9mm.
Here.
No.
Okay, but I did love the interplay with Jack and General Carter, where Jack he's in control, he's in charge, and he keeps answering. And I love the ATF guy, saying, "Do you let your subordinate basically be insubordinate?" And he says he's not being insubordinate to me, and that's such a great line and delivery. And you just kind of got a feeling what General Carter was like before Selmac, and you're like, ew,
Yeah, I can imagine he was a bit of a hard case, shall we say?
Yeah.
I do also like the line where the ATF agent says, "I've got top clearance," and Jack says, "Not top enough."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so a little disappointing when he calls the guy over. Jack calls the guy over and he's like, "I'll throw you a bone," right? And he tells him, he was being serious. I thought for sure he was going to say something sarcastic or snarky or,
Well, but Jack didn't exactly lie either. I mean,
No, he didn't.
he told him the truth, but it's just not the full truth.
Yeah.
He gave him an answer basically that he knew the guy would be satisfied with.
Yeah, I just felt like after all of the sarcasm, I don't know, I was a little disappointed. Like, where another zinger?
He's actually throwing him a bone.
Right?
He's giving him a break.
It was a limited hangout.
Courtesy, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a limited hangout. He told him something that was true, but not the full truth there.
Very
Exactly.
truth.
Just enough to.
This has my favorite character of this episode, the small town sheriff.
Oh yeah.
Can't be bothered with anything that goes on at the cult. Like, hey, there's the cult over there. Yeah, go.
I gotta go to Earl's.
Yeah,
I gotta go
there's
to
a fight
Earl's and break up a fight.
Yep, there's a fight breaking out. I want to hear more about that fight at Earl's.
Yeah.
I bet you there's a real story behind that.
Well, the funny part, this is supposedly like north of Seattle, which if you've been north of Seattle, it's still got some very rural areas. I mean, between Seattle and the Canadian border. And it looks about like that area because they basically filmed in that area.
Right.
Just on the other side of the border. Yeah. But
the cult wasn't going to be in Arizona. We all kind of knew that when they said that there was going to be a cult.
You could tell whoever picked San Diego for Jacob Carter's son has never been to San Diego. People don't own coats like that in San Diego. We can ask Jimmy Aiken. It doesn't get that cold in San Diego that you have to wear big, winter coats like leather coats or whatever.
It's always pretty temperate there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was an interesting scene where maybe I'm misremembering, but I don't think we've really gotten anything about his son in the past. And so you just kind of get it where he knocks on the door, and he comes out and gives him a hug.
I think we knew Carter had a brother.
Yeah.
And I think that's about as far as we knew. We didn't know anything about him. I think we actually just heard his name was Mike today, or in this episode. I mean,
yeah,
it's Mark.
Mark. I said Mike.
Well,
yeah, Mark.
I remember in the very beginning, first season, was it Cold Lazarus, where Carter finds out that Jack had a son that was killed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she says, "I'm an auntie myself, and my brother Mark has 2 kids." So we knew that she had a brother and
okay,
niece and nephew, but that was
pretty much that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was a.
So where does this one fall on the old shippage meter?
It was
who's shipping who? Not there. Okay,
not existent.
Is this shipping Carter and Seth? Is that what we're doing?
I don't know. I'm shippage blind, so people have to explain this to me.
The bliss-filled Carter, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to look up that quote and what was it? Seth is happiness. Seth
It's like Seth is life, or
Seth is love. Seth is life.
Seth is happiness. Yeah. I'm gonna try that on my family. I'm gonna walk around and say that as a mantra and see what happens.
It's a mindfulness technique.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Maybe then they'll empty the dishwasher. Maybe.
Or they'll destroy it with a Keshkara.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. I found the quote. Seth is life. Seth is happiness. Seth is almighty.
Oh, there we go.
Nice.
Okay, that doesn't sound, but that's not gonna work on my family.
Yeah, here you go.
I want to get that on one of those shellac wood boards, like the Chip and Joanna Gaines thing. Have a wood burn just hanging up.
Yeah, that would be cool. Live, laugh, Seth. Yep. I wasn't sure if that was Chip or Joanna Gaines there, but Gaines.
Either one works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, did y'all have any other thoughts on this episode?
I noticed, and I think maybe this is the first time I'd seen it, at least on Daniel's desk. He has a picture of Shari.
Oh, we did.
Oh, that's
Right next to his computer.
Make it out. Nice.
Yep.
I just kept
Yeah, so
looking
good.
at the one on the camel in front of the
Oh, yeah.
pyramid. Yeah.
I thought that was one that just came with the frame, but maybe not.
No, it was her.
I mean, they were actually together as a couple, so it might have just been his actual picture.
Yeah, I think she was in costume, but still, yeah, it was. Yeah,
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
maybe I know. Maybe that's the thing at home. She wore the charade costume. Who knows?
Yeah.
The less questions we ask, the better.
Yeah. Good night, everybody.
Now that I've left it on that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to follow that. The aristocrats.
Yeah. It's a good article that you shared, Lisa, from space.com, talking about why it's time for a new Stargate series. And they go through all the news about Amazon buying MGM Studios, which means they now own the rights to Stargate. And they talk about basically they give 3 different reasons about why we should have a new Stargate series. And the first one is that it doesn't really feel like Star Wars or Star Trek. And the second one is that it can do Game of Thrones in space. I guess they're kind of talking about you get that medieval intrigue that you don't really get in the other 2 shows, and that it kind of is more lighthearted than those other 2 shows can be. And so it's an interesting series, and it'd be fun to talk about what would y'all like to see in a continuation, and would you rather there be a straight up just clean slate reboot, or would you like to see a continuation that takes into account the rest of the canon and the universe of the show? So we can start with you, Father Cory.
You know, I hope they don't go for a reboot. You know, I mean, there was talk at one point, and this mentions it, of Roland Emmerich bringing back off of the trilogy that he had originally planned.
Yeah.
And I think that idea is dead, and I hope that stays dead, because let's be honest, the 3 TV series were so much bigger than the movie ever was, and any success the movie had beyond its initial release is because of the TV series. So I think it would be a mistake to do that. And I hope they remember the reason why Universe had such a bad response from the beginning.
Yep.
Is it tried too hard to be the Battlestar Galactica, the Star Trek Discovery, the Game of Thrones set in the Stargate universe.
Yeah.
And it just didn't work. I've never seen the second season. From what I understand, is when they started to finally get away from that Battlestar Galactica model, it actually started to get worth watching.
Yeah.
By that time, it was too late.
All the characters stopped hating each other for 5 minutes, and the show actually started to work.
And so I don't want to see them try to do the same thing like Star Trek Discovery. I mean, I want to see them remember that people like Stargate because it was a planet of the week, a bad guy of the week, a funny, tongue-in-cheek science fiction series. And if they did that, and with the current streaming models, every streaming, made for streaming TV series is less than 15 episodes in a season. People would love to see 10 episodes of SG-1, The Next Generation.
Yeah.
Yep.
People would love it. Obviously it wouldn't be the original actors. It would be the next crew, 20 years, 30 years later. Fine. Great. It'd be awesome.
Yeah, definitely. What about you, Lisa?
Well, I agree with Father Cory in that if they tried to reboot it, I think it would just crush the audience that they have. They have this built-in audience of fans. I mean, look at us. It's been, 23 years, 24 years since it came out. And we're here talking about it. And if you just jump on the internet for any length of time, you'll find a whole host of people who remember fondly Stargate and still talking about it and still have this huge fan base. So I would hope there's no possibility of reboot, because why would you wipe that out? All the canon that they built and the goodwill and the passion of the fans that exist. My great fear is that they do a continuation, but they try to make it edgy and cool and very 2022 or 2023 or, whatever. And kind of like what they did with Universe, and they try to adapt it for the times. And rather, there's something about Stargate that really hit fans, and it hit fans across, I would think, a lot of ages, male and female. I mean, look at us. I think I probably liked it for a lot of different reasons than y'all liked it. I mean, it just worked across a wide platform, and so I want them to remember that. And you don't have to have cameos. We don't need to see all the actors. I don't want to see us doing like I don't know if I should bring up Book of Boba Fett, but like where they're CGIing characters from 30, 40 years ago, and I don't want to see Jack O'Neill where he hasn't aged or whatever. I just think there's a way to do it that would be wonderful and graceful, but I have a little trepidation. I'm a little fearful that they will ruin it. And so as much as we want Stargate, I am nervous. So I want it, but I want it like I want it. So
yeah.
So
you want to be like the character in the Matrix.
Yeah, they want to call me and let me tell them how to do it. I'm perfectly cool with that.
Yeah.
I think we need to start that social media campaign.
Right.
And for people listening, she did the the hand to the ear, shaking it, pinky finger and thumb out.
That's right. Call me.
Yeah, I definitely think it has to be a continuation, a reboot. There's nobody who's not watching or who hasn't watched Stargate that's thinking to themselves like, gosh, I really want to watch Stargate, but I don't want to like watch the shows that exist because of all the baggage or something. I mean, there's nobody. It's a really cool premise, but I'm waiting for them to like start with a clean slate.
Yeah.
I think that they need to trim it back quite a bit because things got so big. Like we have SG-1, we have the Soviet Stargate program, we have Atlantis now coming back to Earth. We have the universe base, where they're on another planet that gets blown up and now they're on this ship hurtling through space, although they do need to get back to that, but they need to trim it back a little bit. And like, maybe it's like, a couple of kids build a Stargate in their like garage, like an Orland gate or something. And then like the government gets involved there, but they need to start smaller than they are. They can't possibly, start with the full universe and try to go from there. So I think like a new entry point. In terms of reboots, we kind of did have a reboot. It was called, Stargate Origins, and it was not good. Granted, it probably cost about $11,000 to make, but and all that money showed up on the screen, such as it was. But yeah, I think the main requirement is it has to be something I can watch with my kids,
Yeah,
and it has to be something that like, the scientifically curious, 8-year-old can watch it and understand, how the technology is working, on a basic level, and also get something out of it, learn about black holes or singularities and things like that, and just spark that imagination and that kind of love of science and physics, rather than it just being about like who's angry at who this week for what reason.
Right. I think that's something really important that you touched on, is that it needs to be a fun, wholesome show that's enjoyable by everybody. And because that's my biggest problem with the new Star Trek shows, is that I cannot watch those with my son because they're so dark and they're so violent and they're just depressing. But he can see like the original series or Next Generation or things like that, because even though like I like it and I'm an adult, I remember watching those shows growing up and it wasn't something that was awful and depressing. And I feel like that's something that we've really gotten away from with TV nowadays, is that everything is segmented into its specific demographic. Like you have kids shows and you have adult shows and you have teenager shows. Like you don't have TV shows that are just good that everybody can watch and everybody can get something out of. And I would like to see something like that. I think the best way for them to do it would be to do kind of like how Next Generation was a continuation of the original series of Star Trek, but it was also kind of a soft reboot where you could start with that. And you didn't have to watch the original series.
Right.
And they built back up from there. And they included a lot of references where if you already like Star Trek, you would get them, but it was not required for you to watch them. And I feel like that would be the best way for them to go about it.
Oh, something else just occurred to me. You said Amazon now owns like all of MGM Studios?
Yeah.
Not yet.
Okay.
They're in the process, but as far as I know, that it's not officially signed over yet. But they will.
so we could get our Stargate Legally Blonde crossover at some point.
Oh, that'd be so awesome. I'm all over Elwood. Let's do it.
You did also mention something, Victor, that got me thinking. It would be interesting if they did kind of like a Stargate, like Stargate Stranger Things is kind of like what sounded like what you were talking about, like with kids building a gate. But
Stargate Afterlife. Yeah.
Yeah.
Aren't we?
I would be worried they would kind of go in that direction. So
Aren't we
I don't
kind
know.
of seeing?
Okay. I was gonna say I think they could. I think they could do it well. I don't have a lot of faith that it will be good when they make it because I feel like everything is very concerned with being very socially topical and also very dark.
Right.
And I don't know if I think there's a market for fun, like adventure TV shows. And I kind of like Stargate. Stargate for me is kind of like what I tried to like Doctor Who for. Like, I'm not a big fan of Doctor Who, but Stargate kind of fills that niche for me where it's fun, but it's not too heavy or serious.
Right.
And that was one of the things they were known for doing well is, I mean, look at, we kind of make fun of it, but we like it. That they take these kind of heavy topics and then it's like where any other show would have them in therapy for 3 years. The next episode, they're like, oh, everything's okay. And it's just, you can, kind of like why I watch Hallmark movies, right? You can watch it and there's redemption and happiness at the end and it's all okay.
Yeah.
Like that.
Well, you mentioned Doctor Who, like you watch classic Who and it's not deep. It's not overly serious. I mean, it's got some serious parts. It's got some scary parts. It's got some intense parts, but by and large, it's pretty tame compared to what they put on the TV today. I think what's going to be interesting to see is one, what they're doing with Star Trek Strange New Worlds, and two, what the response is. If that tends to be more lighthearted and more adventure of the week, like they say it's going to, and less serious, then again, I keep going to Discovery, but Discovery is just kind of the example of everything that's bad with, streaming TV today, in my opinion. And if it's the not Discovery, and if it's more what we want with Stargate and people respond to it well, like I hope they will, that could be a really good sign for being able, for the producers of Stargate, because it's many of the same people who were involved in Stargate way back when that are pushing for the new series.
Yeah. Them
being able to say, look, this is a model very similar to what we did back in the 90s and 2000s, and it was successful. We want to do it again.
So what you're saying is you want to have fun when you're watching TV?
Oh, terrible.
Right.
What's wrong with you?
And I don't want to be preached at.
Yeah.
I'm the preacher. I don't want to be preached at.
A little escapism is nice.
Exactly. That's why I like science fiction.
Yeah.
I just want people I like who are heavily armed go to a different planet every week and something weird happens and then they all come home and are happy about it.
There you go.
And if there's explosions, all the better.
And people flying through the air without really, I'll have to take your word on that.
Awesome. Yeah, we'd love to hear what all our listeners think of this. You can reach out to us at stargate@sqpn.com or on Twitter at sqpn or on Facebook at StarQuest Media. So let us know what your ideal Stargate continuation would be. And before we go, we'd like to take a moment to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create the Secrets of Stargate, including Evany G, Dixie P, Father Terrence D, Anusha M, and Nate F. Their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue the Secrets of Stargate and all the shows at StarQuest. And you can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. And be sure to follow the show on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or on the SQPN YouTube channel. To find previous episodes of Secrets of Stargate and to send feedback, please visit sqpn.com/Stargate. You can email us at stargate@sqpn.com or follow StarQuest on social media at facebook.com/StarQuestMedia or on Twitter at SQPN. You can also join the StarQuest fan club mailing list by texting StarQuest to 66866. Send StarQuest to 66866. And we'll be back next time when we'll be discussing the next episode of SG-1, Fair Game. Until then, Father Cory, thank you for joining me and sharing the Secrets of Stargate.
Thank you, Jack.
And Lisa Jones, thank you as well.
Thanks, Jack.
And Victor Lambs, thank you too.
Thanks, Jack, and it will reside on me also.
Once again, I'm Jack Baruzzini, and thank you for listening to The Secrets of Stargate on StarQuest.
Anyway, I'm sorry, but that just happens to be how I feel about it. What do you think?